Good afternoon. My name is Antonia Thornton, and I will be applying for the administrative assistant position. So this is going to be my video submission for the questions. The first one was, in what specific ways are you ideally suited for the position? So first off, I have had a ton of experience with administrative tasks. I've had like over 10 years of experience with doing such work. So basically, I have experience taking phone calls and doing scheduling and doing people's expenses and booking travel and things like that, filing, keeping up databases, all of those sorts of things. Um, I also have experience, like several years of experience with marketing. So I've like maintained databases on that side as well, and done expenses there, and I've like planned events, and I've kept up social media channels, and I've maintained and helped plan a redesign of websites. So I have lots of experience there, and I also have experience with documentary filmmaking. So I have several years of experience there. I'm currently in a program at UCLA, their grad program for documentary directing. And so I think I have all of these different facets that will really lend well to me being very engaged in the position and also just being able to handle it very well. I'm very detail oriented and very organized. And I like to keep a very like tidy office, but I also am very creative and very interested in documentary directing and documentary filmmaking. And I would just like to learn everything from that side as well as just helping on an administrative level. Okay, so question number 2. Aside from income, how will this job benefit you, and how will being an assistant fit into and support your current schedule and career goals? So, for the first part, I think that aside from income, this position can kind of give me a behind the scenes on what it actually takes to, like, from day to day, to be a documentary filmmaker. I've seen a lot of people kind of in the not so much in the professional field. I've seen them in like the scholarly realm and only in school, within school. So I think it would be really nice to see someone outside of UCLA and the other schools that I've been at making films and kind of figuring out what it means to be a filmmaker outside of the scholarly realm, and kind of what it means on a day-to-day basis and what you kind of have to do to keep that career going. I think that could be a really big lesson for me. And I think that that will be more beneficial than any income that I could take away. And for the second part, I am still a student, so I think that working a part-time position is definitely necessary. I don't want to take on a full-time job during the summer and then have to leave it during the school year. I would like to find a position that I could keep throughout the school year and kind of, have a job that I can grow with. And the third question. In what way have you used creativity or thinking outside the box to complete a challenging task? So, in general, filmmaking and marketing, which what I've been doing for the past couple of years, they both require both of those things. You need to be creative and you need to think outside of the box, especially when you're in very small teams and when you're working with a really low budget. So I have lots of experience with that. But specifically, I think one such instance was when we were redesigning the website at my last job. So that was about a year ago. And basically, we decided that we didn't want to hire someone from outside so that we wouldn't have to, I guess, be limited in our vision. And so we decided that me and my director, so we were a two-person team, we decided that we were going to redesign everything ourselves. So basically, what I had to do was I had to kind of learn more about website design and kind of the creativity that went behind that, and also how to implement the designs that we wanted to see on the site. So I had to kind of do a lot of research on different like WordPress workarounds and a lot of different coding and things like that. And I also took advantage of the video creations that I had been doing, and also just like media things in general. So I made sure to kind of implement like large video headers, and I reshot the entire all of the employees' photos and retouched them and made sure that to teach myself Photoshop. So I was just making sure to kind of pair my creativity with this kind of thinking outside of the box for our industry, which was legal. So all of the websites kind of in our realm were very boring and very just very plain, and we definitely wanted to kind of be at the forefront of like innovation in our industry, and so we were making sure to think outside of the box when that was concerned, and also to think outside of the box in regards to what we already knew we could do, and kind of to push ourselves to do something different and interesting. And so I think that that's a very concrete example of pairing creativity with thinking outside of the box. Okay, and the final question. Describe the most complex project, product, or event that you personally coordinated for yourself or for someone else. What were the moving parts that you had to organize, track, and execute? So I've had quite a few experiences planning large events and helping out with different film festivals, and also helping out with different short film productions. So I've got a lot of experience kind of helping out with a lot of different moving parts. I think the most recent experience was when I agreed to AD a short musical for some of my friends and some of the actors in our theater group at UCLA. So this was kind of everyone's first experience doing a musical, and so we didn't really know what we were in for. There was a really large cast that, as an AD, I had to kind of keep track of, and keep track of all of their different schedules, and especially when I was doing call sheets and figuring out which scenes we were going to do on which days. It was very difficult to kind of keep track of what was going on there. And we also had a very small crew. And so on any particular day, any of us, including myself, would be doing sound on a certain thing, or we would all be doing like helping out with grip or things like that. And so we kind of had to just roll with the punches with regard to that. And I think that the biggest challenge was kind of wrapping my mind around the different makeup and costume requirements for the shoot. We had a lot of different costume changes, and a lot of different costumes that needed to be prepped. They needed to be ironed. They needed to be tailored beforehand. And so on top of trying to figure out schedules with the hair and makeup, which took a long time, and just with the actors and their accessibility, I also had to keep track of when the costumes were ready, and telling our costume designer ahead of time which scene we were doing, which people were in that scene, and which costumes needed to be available so that she could get them prepped, and so that we weren't waiting around for that. So I think that the whole experience really helped me with juggling so many different kinds of things, and I realized in the end that everything came together really well. And I think what I also learned is just more teamwork, and more being able to depend on other people, and also to step in when I needed to as well. So I think the whole experience really helped me kind of, on a day-to-day basis, learning from one thing, going to the next day, and kind of taking what I had learned from the day before and applying it to the next day with regard to schedules, with regard to people maybe not showing up, and kind of learning, hey, this person's hair takes 1.5 hours, so I needed to schedule that in. And so I think, one, I learned a lot about scheduling and a lot about organization and a lot about kind of being able to pick one thing up and just roll with it, and also a lot about teamwork and a lot of working together and kind of just pitching in wherever you need to.